Victor Rain was not a normal man. He was one of the richest people in the world, but very few people had seen him in public. He lived in a tall glass tower above the city, working all day on secret science projects. He didn't care about parties, friends, or even family. He only cared about the future and how to control it. Mira was his secretary. She was quiet, smart, and always on time. She had worked for Victor for 5 years without ever asking him any personal questions. She handled all his calls, travel, plans, and private meetings. She didn't know much about him, and he liked it that way. One rainy evening, Victor called Mira into his office. His tone was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "I have a personal offer for you," he said. Mira sat down slowly. "Is it a new position?" "No," Victor replied. "It's more unique." He opened a black folder and pushed it across the desk. Inside was a long legal document. "I want you to have my child," he said. Mira's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" Victor leaned back in his chair. "Not the normal way. I don't want a relationship. I want a child, an heir, someone to continue my legacy." She stayed silent. "I will pay you 10 million, he added. "The child will be raised with the best care, and you will be given everything you need during and after the pregnancy." Mira felt like the room was spinning. She needed money. Her mother was sick, and her younger brother had dropped out of college to help at home. But this? "Why me?" she asked quietly. "You're healthy, you're private, and I trust your loyalty," Victor replied. "That is all I need." Mira took the folder home. She didn't sleep that night. She looked at the document again and again. It was legal, clean, safe, no strange demands. She would go to a private clinic, get the procedure, and be free to live anywhere during the pregnancy. By morning, she made her choice. 2 weeks later, Mira was in a special medical facility deep in the mountains. Everything was clean, quiet, and strange. The doctors didn't speak much. Machines scanned her body, checked her blood, and gave her injections. She asked questions, but the answers were short. "Everything is fine. You are in perfect condition." The actual procedure was quick. Victor wasn't there. In the following days, Mira rested in a peaceful villa provided by Victor. Nurses visited her daily. Her body started to change faster than expected. In just 1 month, she felt as if she were already 4 months pregnant. "This is not normal," she said to one of the doctors. "It's rare, but not dangerous," he replied. "You're simply progressing quickly." Still, Mira felt something was different. Sometimes she had dreams of stars, glowing cities, and strange music. She would wake up feeling peaceful but confused. One night, she heard a whisper in her mind, "Mother." She looked around the room. No one was there. The next day, she told the nurse. The nurse only smiled politely. "Pregnancy dreams," she said, but Mira wasn't sure. Meanwhile, Victor watched everything from his private lab. He had a wall of screens showing Mira's daily reports, medical data, and even her sleep scans. Beside him stood an old man with silver glasses, Dr. Lin, his most trusted scientist. "She's responding better than expected," Lin said. Victor nodded. "The DNA is stable, completely. No signs of rejection. This may be the first perfect fusion." Victor turned to a large glass tank at the back of the room. Inside, a soft blue light shimmered around a strange metallic orb. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "This time," Victor whispered, "we will see what true evolution looks like." As weeks passed, Mira felt more changes. Her hearing became sharper. Her skin glowed slightly at night, but only when she touched her stomach. The doctors gave no explanation. "Your body is adapting," they said. She began talking to the baby. When she was alone, "Who are you really?" she whispered one night. "What are you doing to me?" There was no answer, but sometimes she felt comforted, as if something inside her was listening and protecting her. One morning, she found a notebook on her table with a message inside. It was not written in any known language. The symbols glowed faintly and faded when touched. She took it to the nurse, who quickly took it away. "Probably just a dream object," she said. Mira no longer believed anything they said. One day, Mira requested to speak to Victor directly, for the first time in months. He agreed. The meeting took place in the same office as before. Victor looked at her with cold interest. "You're doing well," he said. "The baby is healthy." "This is not normal," Mira said. "You're hiding something." "I want to know what you've done to me." Victor paused. "Everything I've done was to ensure survival of something greater than you or me." She stood up. "If I find out you've put this child in danger, I'll leave. I'll take him with me." Victor smiled for the first time. Mira stood in front of the mirror, holding her growing belly. It had only been 2 months since the procedure, but she looked like she was already 7 months pregnant. Her skin had become smoother and warmer to the touch. There was a faint silver glow under her skin whenever she stood in the dark. She had stopped asking questions. The nurses only smiled politely and gave the same answers. "Everything is progressing well." But her heart told her something was not normal. The dreams had returned. Almost every night now, Mira dreamed of a sky full of stars. She floated above glowing cities, saw creatures with soft light around them, and sometimes felt like she was flying without wings. But the most strange thing was the voice. It was no longer a whisper. It was clear. "Do not fear. Mother, I am awake." She woke up sweating each time, hand pressed tightly over her stomach. Victor watched it all from his control room. His face stayed still, but his eyes were full of excitement. "She's beginning to connect," said Dr. Lin beside him. Victor nodded. "How long before full awakening?" Lin tapped on his tablet. "Based on her scans, another 6 weeks. Maybe less." Victor turned toward the glowing orb in the lab. "And the signal? It grows stronger every day," Dr. Lin said. "Whatever is inside the child, it's reaching out." Victor smiled. "Good, let it call." Mira began noticing other changes. Her senses were sharper. She could hear birds singing from far away, even through thick windows. She could smell the rain before it arrived. She touched her plants in the garden, and they grew faster, greener. The baby inside her was quiet. But sometimes she felt gentle movements, like waves of energy, not kicks. She no longer felt scared. She felt connected to something larger, like the baby was showing her a world beyond the human one. One day, she placed a glass of water on the table. She turned away for just a moment. When she turned back, the water had frozen solid. Even though the room was warm, she stared at it, heart pounding. That night, she wrote everything down in a notebook. She didn't show it to anyone. A new nurse came the next day. Her name was Seema. She was soft-spoken and seemed younger than the others. Mira noticed she treated her with more care, not like a patient, but like a person. Late one evening, Mira whispered, "Do you know what's really going on?" Seema hesitated. She looked around and leaned closer. "I'm not allowed to say," she said. "But you're not the first." Mira's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? There were others, women before you. But none of them reached this far. What happened to them?" Seema looked down. "They didn't survive." That night Mira couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with thoughts. Why had Victor chosen her? What was this baby? Was she just part of an experiment? The voice returned in her dreams. "You are the key, Mother. Without you, I would not be." 3 days later, a strange event happened. While Mira was in the garden, one of the security guards walked past, speaking on his earpiece. Mira didn't even look at him, but suddenly, the guard stopped, dropped his earpiece, and stood still, staring into the sky. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. Others rushed to him, shaking him, calling his name. But he stayed frozen, eyes Wide open. Only when Mira stepped back inside did he fall to the ground. Gasping like he had been underwater, the head nurse told her he had a panic attack, but Myra knew it was something else. Victor was watching. He turned to Dr. Lin. She's starting to affect others. Lin looked worried. It's too soon. If the child is influencing minds already, that means it's working, Victor said calmly. This child is more than a genetic blend, it's evolution. Mira decided to investigate. Late at night, when the cameras were off for scheduled maintenance, she crept through the hallway. She had memorized the pattern of the guards. She reached a door she had seen before but never entered. It had a silver plate that read, "Restricted. Lab access only." To her surprise, it was unlocked. Inside, the room was full of strange machines, glowing screens and large tanks filled with clear liquid. On one screen, she saw her name, Myra Aaron, next to a diagram of her body, glowing in different colors. Another screen showed something else. A figure, small, curled up, but glowing with strange energy. The word Leo blinked. Below. Her baby. Next to the screen was a folder. She grabbed it and opened the first page. Project Atlas, Phase 7, Hybrid Integration. Subject code, Leo. Before she could read more, a hand touched her shoulder. She gasped and turned. It was Seema. You need to go, Seema whispered. They'll find you. Mira stared at her. What is Leo? Seema looked at her sadly. He's not just a baby. He's a bridge. A bridge to what? Myra asked. Seema paused. To the stars. That night, Mira locked herself in her room. She pressed her hand to her belly. Leo, she whispered. What are you? The voice came back, calm and kind. Am yours, mother, but I am also more. Outside, in the lab, alarms began to blink. Dr. Lin rushed to Victor. We received a new signal. It's not from Earth. Victor's eyes lit up. Is it them? We think so, Lin replied. They've heard the call. Victor looked at the sky through his tower window. They're coming, he said. And the world isn't ready. The air in the mountains was cold and still. Thick clouds covered the sky, and a strange silence filled the estate where Myra stayed. Even the birds were quiet. It was the 9th week since the procedure, but Myra's body looked like she was ready to give birth. Mira had stopped trusting the doctors. She had stopped asking questions. The only one she trusted now was the voice inside her. Soon, mother, I am ready. That morning, Mira felt a deep pressure in her stomach. Not painful, just heavy, like something important was about to happen. She sat in the garden, staring at the clouds. The wind whispered softly through the trees. Then, without warning, her water broke. She didn't panic. She stood up, placed her hand on her belly, and whispered, It's time. The nurses rushed to her side. They took her to a private delivery room in the underground clinic, a place Mira had never seen before. The lights were soft, the machines quiet, and the doctors more serious than usual. Seema was there too. She held Mira's hand and whispered gently, I'm here, just breathe. Victor watched from a glass room above. His face was cold but focused. Dr. Lin stood beside him, monitoring screens and heartbeats. She's strong, Lin said. No signs of panic. She's connected to him. Victor didn't blink. She's the only one who can bring him safely into this world. The birth lasted only 20 minutes. No screaming. No chaos. Just silence. When the baby came out, there was no crying, only a deep, soft humming sound that filled the room. The doctors froze for a moment. One of them dropped a tool. Another stared at the baby with wide eyes. Leo had silver eyes. His skin was soft, but under certain lights, it shimmered slightly, like glass touched by moonlight. He blinked slowly and looked around, quiet and calm. Mira smiled through her tears. He's beautiful. Leo opened his tiny hand and reached toward her face. As soon as he touched her cheek, A soft warmth filled her body, like sunlight on cold skin. Victor stepped into the room. He walked slowly toward Mira and the baby. "You've done it," he said softly. "You've made history." Mira looked up at him, holding Leo close. "He's not yours. He's not a thing. He's my son." Victor didn't argue. He only stared at Leo with curiosity, wonder, and a little fear. After the birth, Mira was moved to a new room. It had no windows, only soft white walls and quiet music playing from hidden speakers. She was told it was for safety, but she felt like a guest in a golden cage. Leo grew faster than normal babies. By the end of the first week, he could sit up on his own. He never cried. He only looked around with calm silver eyes, as if he understood everything. He would touch objects and make them move. A spoon floating gently, a toy spinning in the air. Seema stayed close to Mira, helping her understand. "He's learning fast," she said. "Faster than any child in history." Mira nodded. "He's not human, is he?" Seema didn't answer right away. "He's more than human. He's something new." Victor visited often, but not like a father, more like a scientist. He asked questions. He ran quiet tests. He watched Leo with hunger in his eyes. Myra didn't like it. She began keeping a notebook of Leo's actions, how he reacted to light, how he spoke in whispers, even before his first real words, how he would stare at the sky as if waiting for something. One night, Mira held Leo in her arms and looked into his eyes. "You're not from here, are you?" Leo blinked slowly. "Not fully," the voice came, clear in her mind. "But I belong with you." A few days later, a strange storm hit the area. Thunder rumbled, but there was no lightning. The clouds turned silver, and the power in the entire estate went out for 10 minutes. When it returned, the lab alarms began to ring. Dr. Lin rushed to Victor. "The signal has increased again, stronger than before." Victor stared at the readings. "Is it coming from Leo?" Lin nodded. "Yes, and it's going out." Victor's hands tightened. "He's calling to them." That night, Mira decided to act. She packed a small bag with clothes, food, and the strange notebook she had found before. Seema helped her, silently. "No questions, no fear, only trust. Once you leave, you can't come back," Seema warned. Victor won't stop looking. Myra held Leo close. "I'm not going to let them use him." She walked quietly through the halls, her heart beating fast. Security cameras were turned off for cleaning. She passed through the garden, then into the outer gates. Leo stayed silent in her arms. Just before they reached the edge of the property, Mira heard a voice behind her. "I knew you would run." Victor stood alone in the shadows. Mira turned, ready to fight if she had to. "You don't understand what he is," Victor said. "He's not a danger. He's the key to everything. He can change the world." "He's a child," Mira said firmly. "He's not your science project." Victor stepped closer. "Please, just let me study him a little longer. I've spent my life waiting for this." Leo looked at Victor with calm eyes. The wind picked up. Victor suddenly stopped speaking. His mouth moved, but no sound came. His body froze, like time had stopped around him. Mira stared, shocked. "Leo, what did you do?" Leo looked up at her. He was loud. "I made him quiet. Then the world returned to normal." Victor gasped for air and dropped to his knees. Myra didn't wait. She turned and ran into the forest beyond the estate. Leo in her arms. As the sky began to clear and dawn arrived, Mira and Leo reached a quiet hill. They looked up. In the sky above, far beyond the clouds, something shimmered, a faint circle of light, like an eye, watching. Mira held Leo close as they walked through the forest. The morning sun peeked through the tall trees. Birds sang softly, and the air felt fresh. But inside Mira's heart, a storm was growing. She had just escaped Victor's hidden estate. She didn't know how long they had before someone found them. Leo was quiet in her arms. his silver eyes looking around with calm interest. They reached a quiet village by noon, a small place at the edge of the mountains. It had old houses, narrow roads, and friendly faces. Mira asked for a place to stay, saying she was traveling with her baby and needed rest. An old woman named Asha welcomed them into her home. "You can stay here for now," Asha said kindly. "But you look tired and afraid," Mira nodded. "We just need time," Asha smiled. "Time is a gift. Use it wisely." That night, Mira sat by the window while Leo slept beside her. She opened the strange notebook she had taken from Victor's lab. The cover was black, with the name Project Atlas written in silver letters. Inside were pages full of symbols, drawings, and strange notes. She flipped through until she found a page with her own name. Subject chosen: Mira Aaron, carrier for hybrid experiment. Status: successful. She read further: DNA sample combined. Human plus signal source. Designated: unknown origin. Sector L5. Purpose: bridge creation. She stopped reading, her hands shaking. It was true. Leo was not just a human child. He was a hybrid. A mixture of human DNA and something else. Something from beyond Earth. Mira looked at Leo sleeping peacefully. His tiny hand glowed faintly in the dark. He wasn't dangerous. He was calm, gentle, and loving. But still, what did this mean? The next morning, Mira went to the village library. It was small, with old books and dusty shelves. Asha introduced her to a retired scientist named Rafiq, who used to work for government research many years ago. Rafiq listened as Mira shared some details, carefully avoiding Leo's name. "I found files," she said, "about a secret project, something not fully human. Do you know about Project Atlas?" Rafiq's eyes narrowed. "I've heard rumors," he said. "Back when I worked in deep signal research, there were stories of strange transmissions coming from deep space. Not random noise, something organized, intelligent." Mira leaned closer. "What kind of signals?" "Patterns," Rafiq replied. "Messages, coordinates. We tried decoding them. But one team said they found a biological code inside the signal. Not data, but DNA." Mira's breath caught. "That's what Victor used," she whispered. "He used that code to create Leo." Rafiq's hands trembled. "If that's true, your child may be the first step in human evolution, or something else entirely." That evening, Mira walked through the forest with Leo in a sling. She needed to think. She needed to breathe. As she walked deeper into the trees, she suddenly heard a low humming sound. Not from around her, from within her. Leo opened his eyes. "They are near," the voice came softly. Mira stopped. "Who?" Leo looked at the sky. "The ones like me." Back in the city, Victor sat alone in his dark office. Screens showed satellite images, Leo's last location, and flashing warning signs. Dr. Lin entered the room, pale and shaking. "They've responded," he said. "We just received a signal from the same source that gave us the DNA." Victor stood up slowly. "Are they coming?" "Yes," Lin whispered. "And the message is clear. We heard the child's voice." Victor smiled faintly. "So. It worked." Back in the village, the stars shone brightly that night. Mira stood outside with Leo in her arms. He stared at the sky, eyes glowing like the moon. Suddenly, a streak of light moved across the sky, then another. 3, 4, 5. Asha came running. "Did you see that? Lights in the sky. Like comets." But Mira knew they weren't comets. Leo looked up and whispered, "They have arrived." The next morning, Mira returned to Rafiq with the notebook and told him everything. Rafiq was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "Mira, you must understand. Leo is not only special. He may be a signal himself." "What do you mean?" "He's like a message, not just a being, but a call to something greater. His birth may be a door." Mira felt her legs weaken. "But what do they want?" Why now? Rafik looked serious. That's what we must find out. But be careful. If governments or powerful people hear about this, they will not let him live in peace. Mira hugged Leo tightly. I won't let anyone take him. Later that evening, Mira sat by the fireplace. She gently rocked Leo in her arms. The lights in the sky had returned, hovering far above like stars that refused to move. Mira spoke softly. Leo, what are you really? The voice returned. I am your child. But I am also a spark, a new beginning. I do not come to harm. I come to help. Help who? Myra asked. Everyone. But not all are ready. Suddenly, the door burst open. It was Sima. She was out of breath and covered in dust. They found you, she said. Victor's men. They're coming. Mira stood up. We have to go. No, Sima said. You have to show them. Let them see who Leo truly is. The next morning, as the sun rose, a large black vehicle rolled into the village. Victor stepped out with 4 guards. Mira stood in the open square with Leo in her arms. The villagers watched quietly, unsure what was happening. Victor spoke loudly. Myra, come back. You know he belongs with us. Mira shook her head. No, he belongs with the world, not your lab. Victor looked at the sky. You think they'll accept him? The governments? The people? They'll fear him. You know that. Leo raised his hand. The sky shifted. A circle of light opened above the trees. From it, soft figures of glowing energy descended, tall, peaceful, and silent. The villagers gasped. Victor stepped back. It's them. Leo spoke not with words, but with thoughts. I am not a weapon. I am a bridge. We choose peace. The glowing beings surrounded the village but made no move to harm. One of them touched Victor's shoulder gently. He fell to his knees, eyes filled with tears, for the first time. He understood. Mira stood tall in the village square, holding Leo close. Around her, the people were frozen in silence, staring at the glowing beings from the sky. Their shapes were soft and light-filled, floating like wind, but with clear eyes that seemed ancient. Victor knelt in the dirt, breathing heavily. One of the beings had touched his mind. He had seen something bigger than he ever imagined. His pride had cracked. His voice trembled. I didn't know. I thought I was leading evolution, but I was only opening the door. Mira stepped forward. It's not about power, Victor. It's about trust. Leo's calm thoughts echoed through everyone's minds. I bring no harm. But I must not be controlled. The glowing visitors surrounded Mira and Leo in a soft circle of light. But before anyone could speak again, loud engines roared in the distance. Military vehicles. They were coming fast, tires kicking dust high into the air. Victor's guards turned toward the sound. We didn't call them, one whispered. Who did? Mira's heart raced. They'll take Leo. They'll see him as a threat. Leo touched her face gently. We must go now. The visitors began to rise into the air, slowly disappearing into the sky. The circle of light above the village faded as quickly as it had appeared. In seconds it was gone, and with it, the sense of peace. Soldiers in black uniforms arrived, jumping out of armored trucks. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. They raised weapons and pointed them toward the crowd. Step away from the child, one officer shouted. Everyone down. Victor stood up, waving his hands. You don't understand. The boy is not dangerous. The soldiers ignored him. Mira backed away slowly, holding Leo tightly. Sima came to her side. Go. Behind the school building. There's a small road through the forest. But they'll catch us, Mira said. Not if he helps, Sima replied. Looking at Leo. Leo closed his eyes. For a moment, the world went quiet. Not just silent, still. The leaves on trees stopped moving. The sound of boots faded. Even the air felt heavy. The soldiers blinked, confused. Their hands dropped. Their voices disappeared. "Go now," Seema whispered. Mira ran, holding Leo close to her chest. Seema followed behind as they rushed down a hidden path between trees. Branches cracked beneath their feet. A hawk flew overhead, then vanished into the clouds. Behind them, the soldiers were still frozen. But the effect wouldn't last long. Myra's legs burned, her heart pounding in her ears. "Leo, are you okay?" Leo opened his eyes. "Tired, but safe." They reached the edge of the forest and saw an old jeep waiting. Rafik stood next to it, waving. "Get in," he shouted. They jumped into the jeep. Seema climbed in too. Rafik hit the gas and drove fast through the rough road, trees rushing by on both sides. Mira looked back. In the distance, she could see the soldiers waking up, shouting, chasing. But they were too late. By sunset, they had reached a hidden shelter deep in the hills, a stone cabin once used by mountain climbers. It had no power, no signal, but it was safe. Mira laid Leo on a soft bed of blankets. He was warm, but very still. His silver eyes flickered like fading stars. "Is he okay?" Mira asked, worried. Rafik nodded slowly. "He's using energy quickly. The more he protects you, the more it drains him." Mira held Leo's hand. "I didn't want him to carry this weight." Leo's voice came again, soft and calm. "You gave me life. I will protect yours." Night fell over the hills. Stars filled the sky, but Mira couldn't sleep. She sat outside the cabin, staring up, wondering if the glowing visitors were still watching. Seema joined her with 2 cups of warm tea. "They'll keep coming," Mira said. "The soldiers, the scientists, they won't stop." Seema nodded. "But neither will you." Mira gave a small smile. "I'm not a fighter." "You don't have to be," Seema replied. "You're a mother. That's enough." The next morning, Rafik gathered everyone in the small kitchen. "I've decoded more of the notebook," he said. "Leo is not just a signal or a bridge. He's something else, a key." "To what?" Mira asked. "To connection," Rafik said. "The visitors. They've been watching Earth for a long time. But they don't speak in words. They speak in being, in mind and feeling." "And Leo?" Seema asked. "He's the only one who can truly speak both languages," Rafik answered. "He can open communication between humans and them." "Then why are people chasing him?" Mira asked. "Because fear comes first," Rafik said. "Understanding." Komis later. Suddenly, Leo sat up. His eyes were wide, glowing brighter than ever before. "They're near, but not friends." The cabin shook slightly. A deep hum filled the air. Seema looked outside. Drones, small flying machines, were circling the hills. "They found us," she said. Mira grabbed her bag and lifted Leo. "We have to go, now." Rafik handed her a map. "There's a cave system 2 miles west. It leads to an old railway. You can lose them there." "What about you?" Mira asked. "I'll lead them away," Rafik said, picking up a flare gun. "Go." Mira, Seema, and Leo ran again, through rocky hills, across narrow paths. The sound of drones followed above like angry bees. Leo whispered, "Don't be scared, I'm here." As they reached the mouth of the cave, Mira turned for one last look. Far behind, Rafik fired a flare high into the air, drawing the drones toward himself. "One last gift." Mira whispered, "Thank you," and entered the darkness. Inside the cave, the path twisted like a maze. Cold air wrapped around them. Leo's eyes glowed faintly, lighting the way like lanterns. Minutes passed, then an hour, then silence. Finally, they reached an old tunnel, part of a forgotten railway line. Rusted tracks led into the shadows. Mira sat down, exhausted. "Are we safe for now?" Seema nodded. "Yes, but not for long." Leo sat between them, his voice calm but strong. "This world fears change, but I am not alone anymore." He looked at Mira. Soon, more will understand. And when they do, everything will begin. The old railway tunnel was quiet, cold, and dark. The walls were damp, and the ground was covered in dust and small stones. Mira held Leo close as they sat near the tunnel entrance. Seema rested against the wall, breathing slowly. The chase had ended for now, but danger still hung in the air. Mira looked at Leo. His silver eyes were calm, glowing gently in the darkness. Are they still following us? She whispered. Leo shook his head. No, they're lost, but not for long. Seema stood up and checked the small map Rafik had given them. If we keep walking through this tunnel, it should lead to the mountains. From there, we can reach the southern valley. Few people live there. Mira nodded. Then we move at sunrise. The night passed slowly. Mira didn't sleep. She stared at the shadows on the tunnel ceiling, remembering the glowing visitors. From the sky, she had felt peace when they arrived. But now, all she felt was fear. Suddenly, Leo spoke softly in her mind. They will return, not to harm, but to help. Why did they leave before? She asked. Because I needed time. To grow, to become strong enough to speak for both sides. Mira placed her hand on his back. You're still just a child. Leo smiled gently. A child with a voice louder than sound. By morning, they continued their walk through the tunnel. Leo walked beside Mira now, his little steps quiet. And sure, he didn't complain. He didn't ask to stop. He only looked ahead, as if he knew where the path would lead. After several hours, they reached the end of the tunnel. Bright sunlight poured in. The forest stretched out beyond the hills, with tall trees, fresh air, and birds flying freely. But something was different. The sky was not blue. It was silver. Clouds swirled gently above them, glowing softly, and from the center of the sky, a shape appeared. Round, smooth, and bright like a rising moon in daylight. Mira stopped walking. What is that? Leo looked up. They're here. In the next few minutes, everything changed. The forest went silent. No wind, no birds, no movement. Then one by one, glowing figures began to appear between the trees. They were tall, taller than any human, with smooth forms and gentle light flowing through them. Their faces were soft, without mouths or eyes, yet somehow Mira felt they were watching her kindly. Seema stepped back, eyes wide. Are they the same as before? Leo stepped forward. They're different, but from the same place. One of the beings came closer and stopped in front of Mira. It didn't speak with sound, but Mira heard a clear voice in her mind. You have protected the child well. Mira felt her heart beating fast. Who are you? We are the ones who sent the seed, the signal. We did not create life. We offered a spark, you gave it form. You mean, Leo? She asked. Yes. He is not ours. He is not yours. He is both. Mira looked at Leo. He stood silently, staring at the being without fear. Why now? She asked. Why come here? The glowing figure replied, because the door is open. He has made the connection. It is time. Suddenly, the sky changed again. Far above, jets flew toward the forest, fast and loud. Fighter planes. They roared through the silver clouds, heading straight for the landing site. They're coming again, Seema said. They'll attack. Leo looked at the sky, then turned to the glowing beings. You must not fight. Let me speak. The visitors moved aside. Leo walked forward alone and raised his small hands to the sky. From his body, a soft golden light spread out like a wave. It rose into the air, flowing upward like a quiet breath. As the jets got closer, their engines began to slow. Then stop. One by one, the planes froze in the air. They didn't crash. They didn't fall. They simply floated, suspended like leaves. In still water. Inside the lead jet, a pilot shouted, Controls are dead. I can't move. Another voice on the radio replied, "I see something, light around the wings. I can't explain it." On the ground, military trucks rolled toward the forest. But as they reached the edge of the trees, their engines turned off, one after another. The soldiers stepped out, confused, their weapons useless. Mira watched as Leo turned toward the sky and closed his eyes. A second later, a new light appeared, not above, but around them. Images began to fill the air, memories, feelings, thoughts. She saw Leo's dreams, flying through stars, visiting peaceful worlds, touching oceans made of light. She saw Mira holding him. For the first time, she saw Victor's lab, the tests, the fear, and the hope. The soldiers saw it too. All of them. They dropped their weapons. They stood still, watching the air like it was showing a story from another world. Some of them wept. Victor, standing far behind the military lines, watched through binoculars. He had followed the signal. He dropped the glasses. "They're not invaders," he whispered. "They're teachers." Dr. Lin, beside him, nodded. "And the boy is the first student." The glowing beings stepped forward again. "You have seen," they said to everyone present. "Now you must choose. Fear will keep you apart, but trust can bring you forward." One of them placed a hand gently on Myra's shoulder. "You were the first to trust. Because of you, a door was opened." Tears filled Mira's eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. Leo took her hand and looked up. Double quotes. "Now. The world decides." Across the sky, the silver clouds parted. Sunlight returned. The jets slowly moved back to base. The soldiers walked away, silent and thoughtful. The glowing visitors began to rise. Before leaving, one of them spoke one last time. "We will return." Not to lead, but to listen. Then they disappeared into the light. Mira stood quietly, holding Leo's hand. Seema came beside her, smiling with relief. "You did it," Seema said. Mira shook her head softly. "No, he did." Leo looked up, his eyes shining. "We all did, together." The sun shone brightly over the forest as silence fell once more. The sky was clear. The glowing visitors had returned to the stars. Their ships were gone. Their voices had faded. But something new had taken their place. A quiet feeling like peace after a long storm. Mira stood at the hilltop with Leo. The soft wind brushed through her hair as she looked at the valley below. Soldiers had left. Cameras had stopped flashing. Reporters had been told to go home. What happened in that forest was already being called the Day of Light. But Mira didn't care about headlines. She cared about Leo. He was still just a child. He still liked to play with stones and ask strange questions. But now everyone knew he was not only human and not only alien. He was a bridge between two worlds, and the world was watching. Victor sat in a quiet room at the edge of the valley. His hands were folded, and his eyes stared at a small screen showing a still image of Leo, his own child, though not in the way he had imagined. Dr. Lin entered slowly and handed him a glass of water. "You've been quiet for hours," she said. Victor nodded. "I'm thinking." "About what?" He took a long breath. "About what I did. What I nearly destroyed, and what I can still do." She sat beside him. "You tried to control him, use him." "I know," Victor said. "But I also paid for it. I lost everything, my company, my name, my future." Dr. Lin looked out the window. "Maybe this is your future now. Not business, not power, but something bigger." Victor stayed silent. Then he stood up. "I want to see him. One last time." In the forest clearing, Mira was packing a small bag. She, Leo, and Seema had decided to leave the valley and move far away, not to hide, but to rest. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and saw Victor. He looked older now. Not in age, but in spirit. His shoulders were heavy. His eyes were tired. Myra didn't speak. Victor took a step forward. I didn't come to take him or control him. I came to say thank you. Mira frowned. Thank me? For keeping him safe, for raising him, for making sure he became more than just an experiment. She looked at Leo. He was drawing lines in the dirt with a stick. Victor stepped closer. Can I speak to him? Mira nodded once. Victor knelt beside Leo. Hello. Leo looked at him calmly. Hello. There was silence. Victor's voice trembled. I don't know what to say. Leo touched Victor's hand. You don't need to say anything. I forgive you. Victor's eyes filled with tears. But I don't forgive myself. Leo gave a soft smile. Then try to be better. That's enough. Victor stood slowly, wiped his face, and turned to Mira. Take care of him. I will, she said. Victor walked away, disappearing into the trees. Weeks passed. Mira, Leo, and Seema moved to a quiet village in the northern hills. The air was fresh, the people kind. Life became simple again. Mira worked in the local library. Seema opened a small shop, and Leo explored. He would wander through fields, sit near rivers, and stare at the stars each night. Sometimes he spoke with animals. Sometimes he would close his eyes and hum a soft tune. And the flowers around him would bloom, but he never showed off. He never tried to be famous. He just wanted peace. One day, while Mira was folding clothes, Leo walked in with a notebook. I've been writing something, he said. Oh, Mira smiled. Can I read it? Leo nodded and handed it over. Mira opened the notebook. The pages were full of drawings, symbols, and simple words. At the top, it said, A guide for the future. Below it was a line written in big letters. Kindness is stronger than fear. Mira's eyes filled with tears. Leo hugged her gently. I want to share this, but not on TV, not in big speeches. I want to teach one person at a time. Mira hugged him back. Then that's what we'll do. In the months that followed, Leo began teaching small groups of children. Not about math or science, but about peace, trust, and the stars. He taught them how to listen without speaking, how to feel without touching, how to believe without seeing. And slowly, the world changed. Not in big ways at first, but in small steps. A leader somewhere chose dialogue instead of war. A scientist chose ethics over speed. A soldier chose mercy instead of orders. And far, far away, among the stars, the glowing visitors watched with quiet smiles. Back in the hills on a quiet evening, Mira sat with Leo on the porch. The sky was clear. Stars glittered above like diamonds on velvet. Do you miss them? Mira asked. The visitors? Yes, Leo nodded. Sometimes, but I don't feel alone. Why? Because they left a piece of themselves inside everyone. Just waiting to wake up, Mira smiled. And you're the key? Leo looked at the stars. No, I'm just the first knock at the door. They sat in silence for a long time. Then Leo said softly, the future is not written in stone. It's written in choices, every day. Mira looked at him with pride. Then let's keep making good ones, he nodded. Together. And so the world turned. Not perfect, not easy, but a little more aware, a little more kind. Because of one child who came from two worlds.